putting me in a haunted house or a haunted bar or a haunted something on a Friday night or Saturday night just to run an investigation for however long I want to be there, I'm in heaven. I
Have you ever
mean,
been frightened?
oh yeah, many times.
Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Today we have one of our special guests, retired 23 years in the military, retired Sergeant First Class Randy Gilbert on with us today. We're going to get into some stuff. He's an investigator of sorts. We have military backgrounds in common, and we're going to see where this goes. They're always fun. They're never boring. I want to give a shout out one quick because to get the name right. Close, dismiss, yes, dismiss. I have my first member by the name of Paranormal Pixie Laura. Thank you so much, Laura. This video is going to be for you. I'm going to release it early and then I'm going to release it later for everybody else. Thanks so much. You're the first person who's actually given me any kind of financial support. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy. But it's not the only reason I'm here to do this. The main reason I'm here to do this is to talk to people like I have one today. So big round of applause. Welcome to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, Randy.
Hey, how's everybody going?
It's doing good. Doing well, man. So, Randy, for the listeners of the Eye of Jupiter podcast, do us a favor. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you.
Well, as you said, I've retired 23 years Army. I picked up paranormal investigating probably minimum of 20 years ago. I used to do it in the DC area when I was stationed there. And then as I got out, I just kept up with it a little bit, but I didn't really have any teams or anything like that. And then I went to school with Tex Wesson, from Texas Front Porch. So
Yes,
we
shout out to
hooked up.
Tex.
Yep. We hooked up probably a couple of years ago after we had a little reunion at our old school. And next thing I know, I mean, we're talking about going out into the woods looking for cryptids. We're going out in the woods and doing different things up at Brown Springs, and then doing stuff at different areas around here for paranormal investigations. To even bringing in Brandy of Blondes and Blue. She's come in and she's
Fantastic.
investigated in this area too. So uh, I've been doing this well over 20 years now, and I just keep track of stuff, and that's kind of where I sit now. Now I'm retired. I still work in an oil field company, so I work 4 days a week, 25, 30 miles away or whatever, but then turn around and I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I get to do what I want to do. So
Yeah, but that's cool, man. Because I kind of did the same thing. I bought a house in Germany and then kind of live off grid here in Mexico. And
yep,
I'm just right now. I'm doing, we had to postpone this podcast because I do solar panel work as well as
yep,
concrete work
yep.
and whatever I got to do to make ends meet. So yeah, dude, that's admirable. Now you were saying that you go out on these. I can't remember the name of the place. It's a specific cemetery. I think you mentioned it. Is there a
Brown
specific
Springs,
cemetery? Brown
Brown
Springs.
Springs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Tex was talking
we don't
about
talk
this
about it a whole
place.
lot. Yeah, that's his place. I mean, I go out there with him whenever I can, obviously. But it's one of those things. It's he goes out there for the critters. He goes out there for the Bigfoot hunts and stuff like that, and for anything, any kind of research we can do, he looks for anything. Doesn't make no difference. But there's a cemetery up there that has some very a lot of folklore associated with it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And we've been up there 100 times. Now it seems like, well, I'll just say that. But I've been up there a few times with him, and we've had people go up with us, and there's something happens up there almost every time. That is not any one time that you could pick out that nothing really happens. Something usually does, but
Yeah, he was telling me there's a specific entity there that is like kind of collecting the other entities, like an underlying like very strong evil entity in this cemetery. Could you
that
maybe say something to that?
well, I can't say it because I'm a firm believer. And this is the I'm the healthy skeptic. I'm the guy that goes in. Everything's going to have to be debunked, or if I can debunk it, I'm going to debunk it.
There you go.
But I can say for sure in that cemetery, I've never felt an evil presence myself, but there are spots there that say something else happened there because there's a slab there that looked like it had some sort of a I don't want to say mausoleum on it, but it had some sort of building on it at one point or another that either housed or it was a crypt of some sort. That's the only
Oh,
thing
and
I can
then
think of because we found the actual slab. So I don't know if there was a slab above or if that's what's left is what's down below it. I
wow.
just don't know for sure because we didn't get a chance to really dig into it. But as far as the area itself, it's electric. I mean, when you feel something when you're there, but I don't think I've ever felt anything at all evil when I was up there at all.
Okay. You were telling me that you're a skeptic. Could you give me an example, let's say, of an investigation that you were on where you experienced some type of quote unquote phenomenon and were able to put it into the category of like, easily or at least somewhat understood?
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, there's several that I've looked at. I mean, in fact, we've done it on the show Truth or Tinfoil several times. I take pictures, or videos that I can find on the internet of certain, evidence, and we dig into that evidence, and we don't take outside uh, notions or speculation or anything. Me and Brandy would literally look at the actual piece of footage or the actual video or the actual picture, and we dissect that picture from what we see.
Okay.
And there's hundreds of them obviously that I've looked at, and oh yeah, that's flare, that's this, that's that, and the case in point, the biggest one, and it took me years until I started doing the show to actually see it. There's an old picture of a fire in a London uh,
Oh, I
mall.
know this one. Is this the one
You
with the
know
little girl?
the little
With the
girl
little girl?
picture?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, that is fake.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because when we started digging into it and I started looking at it, I said, "There's something about the lines and the area of when you get close up on the girl, something about the lines and stuff that it just does. It looks like an overlay almost." Come to find out in 2013, 2014, and I didn't know about it until I started really researching the actual event. And a lady came forward, or a gentleman came forward, can't remember which one it was, but they came forward and said that the people that did that picture in, because I think the fire was in 93, 94 time frame, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been 2003, but I'm not for sure. But they actually said they had done it with a postcard, and they overlaid the postcard onto the original negative and created their own picture with it. And then I started looking
Okay.
up, and sure enough, that little girl is in a postcard from 1923 for the area,
Oh my God.
1926. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's a.
So
Those who don't know, you can look that one up. It's a very.
yeah,
I think it was like a. I think it was like a.
it's actually it to now it's actually written on the Wikipedia page for that particular picture, and I'll have to find it. I think it's Wrexham Hall, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, something like that.
I think it's
Yes.
something like that. Yeah, but
Do, do,
yeah.
do you know anything about the brown lady photo? Because that's also a very famous one.
Which brown lady? There are
Oh,
100 brown ladies.
there's the one that I know. It's like a full body apparition, kind of light. It's a black and white picture, and there's a set of stairs behind her.
Oh, the stairwell ghost. Yeah, that's technically. We did this on the same episode. We did that one as well. It's a
Okay.
fake as well. It's a fake as well. If you look at it close and you start seeing, you can see the pads of the stairwell. As you look at the stairs, you can see the pads. Well, they're kind of like a double exposure. There's a double take of them. You know what I mean? There's like
Oh,
two,
okay.
and there should be one, and that shows it's going to be an overlay. Turns out, if you start really digging into it, that's nothing but a Madonna, Lady Madonna statue that they have superimposed over a picture of those stairs.
Oh my God.
And then did their little stuff with it. So,
Hey,
and
shooting
this
down
now
all
this
my.
is this is how good it was though. This was done back in the 50s when it actually happened. So
Okay.
the person that did it knew what they were doing. It was not an easy thing to do, but it
Mm.
took time and it took a process. But it was fake. Yes, it was.
So I guess the obvious question is on the flip side. Was there something that has occurred to you where you were like, oh man, I gotta, maybe when you started in the DC area, we'll get into
Oh
that
yeah.
too, where
In
you were
fact,
like,
probably
this is crazy.
my second one to be exact. Me and
Okay.
the group I was part of then, we called it Pepper, and I'll never forget that me and them are friends to this day on Facebook. But Pepper was stood for Partnership for Exploration of Paranormal Phenomena and Research. Don't ask me how they came up with it. I just said, "Hey, we're going to go something." That's all I ever told anybody. but but we were doing this one house where the gentleman that I was on the team with, his friend lived in that area and it was right along the Accotink Bay area of DC, outside in Alexandria slash Arlington, Virginia area.
Okay.
And the Accotink Bay Park is right in that area. Well, this kid had gone out and committed suicide in the park. They didn't find him for 2 or 3 days or whatever it was, and they brought him back. And his mother was a little bit on the lost side, I should say. She
Okay.
she did not have all her marbles there, and she kept the clothes that the kid committed suicide. She kept the clothes in the basement. Now we had done a trial investigation a few weeks earlier, and we went through and we caught a couple of things on EVP. Didn't really think too much about them, but we decided to do the basement because that's where they kept saying they were getting the majority of the activity at. And the activity that we were getting that day, that night, I should say, we didn't realize it at the time, but she had taken those clothes and put them into a closet that was downstairs. And it's this closet. I don't know if you've ever seen an old plywood board door with those little snap hinges that that you snap closed to hold it in place.
Yeah.
This is how this was built, and this thing had been painted over 100 times to the point. Me and my buddy, we couldn't even open those latches. We couldn't open that door to that thing at all. Because we were checking everything out. And as we're going through the night, don't think nothing about it. We've had a couple of little instances with orbs and just I'm not an orb guy. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not an orb guy. But when you see a fully luminescent entity of some sort that makes its own trail and it does its own thing, unlike any movement of any bug that you would have around, and there was no airflow in the area because the AC wasn't on.
Okay.
So we're like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I'm using my tri-field meter and I'm walking up and down the hallway right by this area. And I've got my old Sony camera that happens to have a couple of IR emitters. So I set it up on the backside just to watch the area around where the hot water heater is at. It's got a hallway, you got one room, then you had a little hallway, and then you had a back room where the actual hot water heater and such was. And there was a door on this other side, but it was kind of halfway blocked, almost like a server's entrance type thing.
Okay.
So I set mine back there and I go up and down this hallway and I've got the tri-field meter and I'm taking readings. I got my EVP meter or my voice recorder right here and I'm taking readings. So we do this very scientific. We're documenting every reading we have. And I'm going through, I'm doing my tri-field meter and I turn around and as I get through the hallway going toward the front room, I kind of feel like I walk through spider webs almost. I don't know if anybody's ever thought that they've had an apparition around them or whatever. A lot of people explain it as like somebody took an egg and cracked it over your head and you feel it kind of come down.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow. I've never
that's
heard that.
yep, that's the way a lot of them will explain the way they feel an apparition. Well, I felt like I walked through spider webs and there wasn't any spider webs. I was like, okay, well, no big deal. I'm just keep on going what I'm doing. I turned around and about 2 steps back into that hallway, I walked into that door. Between the time I'd walked through, turned around, and turned to walk back,
Oh,
that door was open.
yes.
And I'm like,
I had a door slam in my face when I was 8 years old, where I'm the only one who could have possibly slammed it,
yes,
and there's no wind. And that's after
yeah,
multiple things happening in the house as well, and that made me a believer at 8 years old, which is
oh
probably
yeah,
why I do this podcast to begin with.
exactly. And if you're a believer, I mean, don't get me wrong, I never crap on anybody. I hate to say it like that, but I don't like to make light of anybody's experiences at all because it's your experience. I can't tell you if it's real or not. To
Right.
you, it may be real, but it may be something that I can debunk and say it could be this. But I'm not going to tell you. You have your belief. I'm not going to argue with you about it or
Hmm.
anything.
That's like
But there was
everyone's
no,
connection with God. They connect with God
yeah,
in their own way. So why would
yep,
I go and judge or dismiss your way of connecting to your Creator? It's
yes,
kind of the same thing.
exactly. They taught us that in the army. Everybody's got their own belief.
True,
You got to respect it.
true. I remember that. We used to have a
You
lot of
got to
those
respect
meetings.
it. Oh yeah, and I mean, well, that door caught me off guard because, like I said, we had tried to open that thing. We couldn't open it by all the force we had, other than taking tools to it. We wouldn't gonna be able to open it. It was popped open, and later on that next day, when I'm going through my footage on my camera caught the sound of it popping open. You could hear it
Holy
after I walked to
cow!
the front room. You click, click, pop, and and you could see the shadow of it opening up,
Oh my lord!
and I was well past it.
And
So
you were hooked.
yeah.
You were hooked then.
I mean, well, that was my first real experience. I mean, I've had others that, I feel I worked as a bartender for a long time too, and that was one of those things that at certain times, closing up at night, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, no biggie, we go. But other nights, you go turn the lights off and head to that door as fast as you can get out because you don't want to turn around and look back because you just know
Wow.
something's there.
I think
So
I can definitely relate to that feeling. You can do that too, like when you're like closing up a large connex or something, or you're in
exactly.
a hangar somewhere, and you're at the end of the
E-
night doing some type of watch. Okay,
Yep.
we're done doing the guard duty on this
CQ,
one.
guard duty,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
whatever.
just there's a feeling you're just like
Yep.
I gotta go.
Close it
Wow,
out, turn it off, get out of here as fast as I can go. Yeah.
I think everyone can understand that. I think everyone's kind of
Yeah.
experienced that to a point.
And it's not sensitive, it's not psychic, it's just that sixth sense. And I tell everybody, trust your gut. Your gut's almost never wrong.
True, true. I've got
So
myself in a lot of bad situations. Like you'll be at a party or at a bar or
hmm
whatever you're doing, and for
yeah.
some reason I've always gotten out maybe an hour before stuff kind of happens because there's just like a, a, a vibe in the air, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
And
You
if
can
you always
tell.
follow that, yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
So you were in the military for 23 years. Maybe
Yes.
you can get into that a little bit. I mean, like
Well,
maybe your
yeah,
decision to
like I
do
told
so,
you.
and yeah,
Oh, decision was because I was a dumb kid, thinking I need to get out of here. That's the decision that went into it because I got out of high school and I went to Angelo State University for almost 2 semesters because I drank my way out of it. But I was a double major in chemistry and physics. I'm a science geek. I'm a straight out science geek. If there's something on Science Channel I want to watch, I'm all over it. But my daughter is following in the footsteps. She's doing her uh, uh, graduate degree. She's getting her master's over in Brighton, England, right now in cosmology. Sorry, it's not astrophysics. She's doing actual cosmology, which is the study of the cosmos. So
wow,
she's doing her master's right now. She's already graduated from the University of Texas already. So yeah,
wow,
she's
congratulations
got
on you
my
and her.
oh, we could have talks, but then she started talking about the new stuff that I'm like, nah, that's that new math. I don't want to deal with that. I want to stick with what I got. But
That's crazy, man.
and that's why when I went in and took the ASVAB the second time. Of course I did in high school, but it was a year and a half after when I went into the recruiter, and they took me to do the ASVAB. And
Right. That's for
at that
those who don't
time,
know that. Make sure other people. The ASVAB is the initial test that you take, so they know where you would be the most efficient for the military.
yeah,
Basically, is the
and they
easiest
get
way to
stuff
put it.
that's called line scores out of it. So
Right.
you're talking about whether you're good with communications, whether you're good in mechanical. I mean, it is a full aptitude battery, is what it is.
Right.
So I go in and take it, and first right out of the box, they have that one section is nothing but arithmetic problems.
Yep.
It's like 84 problems you got to do in 3 minutes. I finished all 84. It
I was
literally
so
took me.
cold. I remember
It's
I got there after high school, and it was my recruiter picked me up, and I went there, and it was so cold in the air conditioner. I had such a hard time concentrating.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, but anyway, so I did that. I got a good score on the GT. I mean, my GT was 122, so I was like, okay.
Oh wow.
They said, what do you want to do? I said, let's see. I'm like, dummy me is saying, no, I ain't doing no infantry stuff. I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. What do you got in the field of chemicals? Dummy me. He's like, oh yeah, you could be an NBC or NBC specialist, chemical operations specialist. Like, okay, cool. That sounds cool. I started. They said you could sign up for at that time. This is 1989 now, mind you. We can sign you up
Okay.
for a $1,500 bonus. You can sign up for it. Which I'm thinking, let's see, 1,500, or do I get station of choice? I get one of the two. Well, I like to pick where I'm going to first. $1,500 ain't gonna be that big a deal. I can make that up later. And sure enough, I what do? I pick Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Oh my! So you're so you not. So you're gonna like I'm not gonna only do NBC stuff. I'm gonna make sure I repel out of a helicopter at the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I've done rappelling. I've done the fast rope. I've done the stabo. I don't know if you
No,
to
I don't know
explain.
that well. No.
Stabo is essentially you take 4 or 5 guys, it's called a fast extract is what it's called. They call it stabo, and you get picked up by a helicopter essentially on a sling leg, just like they were picking up a sling load, and you got 4 or 5 guys that are interlocked at the bottom in their sling seats, and they're like this, and you look like the daggum, the balls on one of those perpetual motion machines, or things.
Because you're
You're literally underneath
constantly.
that, and it takes off, and it takes you out of there, and you're dangling under that helicopter, taking off to wherever your extraction point's going to be.
Wow.
And we're underneath there. And I had a guy that lost his grip. One guy loses the grip. That's when I say that pit. You
Oh
watch
yeah,
4 guys doing this right here underneath it, and it's quite hilarious, but it's also quite painful.
I'd
But
imagine. Yes,
but
but
anyway,
when
so
they
yeah,
tell you the thing is that I don't know if you're going to get to this point, but in NBC NCO,
yeah,
basically, basically you have a lot of responsibilities.
yeah,
The call horns and the three call horns, the three bangs,
yeah, yeah,
and the
yep,
steel. But for the most part, as far as I remember, Sergeant, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You're basically like a stock clerk.
yeah. You're pretty much the company. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on your channel like what I would say, but you're the company bitch. That's what you are.
That's fine.
I mean, that's essentially what you are because I mean, everybody's ever seen Radar O'Reilly, on MASH. That's what
A
the NBC
mesh.
guy turns
Yeah.
into. He turns into the company clerk because you've got I was during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was the commander's driver, you know, and then
Okay.
during that whole thing, everybody come to me, hey, is my mask working? Yes, your mask is working. Yes, your mask, because that's what your main job is to make sure the protective masks work, all the chemical equipment is ready to go and stuff like
Did
that.
they have
Yep,
what did they
everybody.
have back then? The M40s? What did they use back then?
No, no, that was still the M17s at that time.
M17s. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the M17s. M40s didn't come till later, and now I think they're on to the M45s now or something like that. I can't remember off the top of
Okay.
my head. But anyway, so they go through, and I've got scouts. Of course, once again, I said I didn't want to be infantry. Look where I end up. I end up Fort Campbell. Guess where I go? Infantry units.
Yeah.
My 8 years there was nothing but infantry units. But you know what? I realized right then. I was like, man, this was a lot more fun than anything else I was doing. The infantry
Okay.
had fun. That's why I loved it. I didn't even see a chemical unit until my last 2 years in the army.
I'd imagine because I was a communication specialist. I did like antennas and all
Okay.
that. That's what I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I was
31
a
Romeo.
31 third exactly what it was. Multi-channel
Yep.
transmission systems
Well, they've
operator.
changed it all now. It's different than
Yeah.
it
Who
was
knows what
now.
it is now? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't. But there's always like they always made silly things for me. They were like, okay, you got to camouflage your Humvee and your generator and
Yeah.
all of that. And I'm like, what are we doing that for? Seriously, like, what are we doing that for? So your
Oh,
camouflage.
yeah.
Like, what about that big antenna right there? I
Yeah,
have two of them.
exactly.
I'm on a relay. So there's
I
always
know the deal.
these things. But I imagine being in an infantry unit, there's a very special sense of camaraderie.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they always looked at me as the guy that could get things done when I needed to get when they needed something. Say we needed something through S1. Hey, I need to process this leave paperwork like right now because this guy needs to go on. I'm walking that stuff up to S1 because I've already established, and this is E1, E2, E3, E4. At that time.
Wow.
And I've already
Wow.
but I've established relationships with the E5s and such up at the sergeants and stuff at S1. They if I come up there and ask for something, I'm not coming up here for my own good looks. I'm coming up to I really need to take care of this soldier. For
Soldier.
some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it worked out good. And I mean, I went out to Johnson Island after that first iteration there, and that was a whole different animal. Because I'm going from combat arms
Where's
to
Johnson Island, Sergeant? Where's Johnson Island at?
Johnson Island is 800 miles southwest of Hawaii, in the middle of BFE. The nearest landmass is part of it's Johnson Atoll is what it's called. It's part of the technically I think it's part of the Bikini Islands if I'm not mistaken. But the nearest land masses are 800 miles to the east. You've got Hawaii, and then 1,400 miles to the west. You've got
No,
Kwajalein and Guam.
because you would
There's
think because
nothing.
that's why I didn't want to be in the Navy. I couldn't stand being on a ship in the middle of nowhere, just running around and doing
Well,
PT in a cargo hangar.
I didn't. think I'd like it a whole lot, but you know what? To this day, I still remember it fondly. And we had probably 300-400 military on the island at the time, and we had I want to say about 1,100 civilians. Because when I got there, we were doing the chemical weapons demilitarization. We were burning chemical agents essentially. We were
Oh wow.
demilitating
Okay.
all our chemical arsenal. We were starting to work on it out there, and we were the ones that actually set up everything like you see with. I think I shouldn't really. I don't think I should say.
You get
Well,
OPSEC.
well, no, it ain't even OPSEC anymore because the majority of, I mean, it's Chemical Weapons Convention Treaty is what's taken over since then. So it's one of those things that they're demilling them everywhere. Everybody's signed on to it. Chemical weapons are being demilled and taken care and gotten rid of. So
That's great.
okay, yeah, and so that's
That's
been
great.
going on for 30 years now, I guess, because I was there in 92, 93, and it hadn't even started. In 93, 94 was when the treaty actually took over. But we
Okay.
had already started doing it there, and when you're sitting there working in that tropical environment, on a coral dredged island that has barely enough of a runway to land a C-140 on. We're talking a half mile wide, 2.5 miles long. That's it. That's it.
Wow.
And you got 1,100 people crammed on that island. But it was the
Hey,
best. It was one of my best tours of any of them. If I hadn't been married, I guarantee you I'd have stayed out there till he kicked me off.
no kidding. And you
But
decided to stay in. Okay, so then after there, when did you end up in DC?
oh, DC wasn't until '05. Yeah, '05.
Oh, that's
Because I
after I
did.
left.
Oh yeah, I went in. See Johnson Island. Then I was back at Fort Campbell again. Then I went to Germany from '96 to 2000.
Where were you in
Then
Germany?
I was in Wiesbaden. I was in Wiesbaden,
Wiesbaden.
Germany.
Okay,
Yep.
I was in Mannheim.
Oh, you were in Mannheim? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mannheim.
Mannheim. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Wiesbaden was it like you were in Wiesbaden?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
Wiesbaden. Right down by,
literally an hour and a half away. No, it's not
maybe,
that far.
maybe, if
Maybe.
depending on how bad the Audubon was. So
Yeah, yeah, the 63. It's
yeah,
a long
63 I
time.
think went to you guys. 66 went back to Frankfurt.
Frankfurt,
Uh
right? Right.
and
Yeah.
then because we were only maybe 30 minutes outside of Frankfurt, but I
Right.
remember 66 because I had to go through Frankfurt, past Frankfurt, like you're going almost to Würzburg area.
Yeah.
But I veered off on, I can't remember if it was Audubon 56 or something, but either way, I had to veer off because there's a place called Wild Flicking up there. Bad
Okay. And,
Kreuznach is right in that area.
but
Bad
unfortunately,
Kreuznach,
that's the training area, right?
yeah, that was one of the train areas. Well, before you get to that, there's a place called Wild Flicking, and actually BK was backed by Wiesbaden. I'm sorry, Bad Kreuznach was backed by Wiesbaden, but there was a place called Kreuzberg. That's what I'm trying to remember. Kreuzberg is the three crosses up on the side of a mountain. It's got a monastery there.
Okay.
Best beer
I never been
on the
there.
planet.
Oh, I don't know
Best
about that now.
beer on the planet. I'm
I
telling
don't
you,
know about that.
we used to keep a beer keg in the company, and we would take turns who would have to drive the 2.5 hours or 2 hours to get there and replace the beer keg every time we had a company party.
I don't know, man. What's your favorite Weizen beer?
Bison? Oh, it's
Uh,
I haven't had Bison in so long, but my favorite
oh,
is Erdinger.
Edding is very good. I also a big
Erdinger's my
fan of
favorite.
Francis Conner is also
Frankenstein,
very.
yeah, Frankensteiner is good.
It's,
I was a big. I like pills a little bit, but it had to be Varsteiner. Varsteiner was the only pills I really
Warstein
liked.
is very good. Have you ever had
Uh,
Eichbaum? Eichbaum.
yeah, Icebaum,
The export. The
Laura Tibbs
export.
1878s.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Yep.
yeah people that you speak my language because you come to when I lived in Germany 20 years. I met my ex-wife out there, so
Oh
I've
yeah, cool.
been Austria, all that, and you go to
Yep.
like the Netherlands and you're like, oh, we have good beer, and I go, nope. I go to Mexico, we have good beer, and I'm like, nope. I go to the States, and go, we have good beer, nope.
Nope.
German beer is the best in the world, and
Oh yeah,
it's not
no
even
doubt.
close. Yeah, they know
I
what they're
went
doing.
to they have a SeaWorld down in San Antonio, right?
Yeah.
And we were on vacation there one time, and we go in, and I go to the Anheuser Busch Beer University. So I'm sitting there thinking, they're gonna let me go in and taste free beer. I'm gonna go taste free beer. I'm good, right? I go in there and they hand me a six little shot glasses about like that or whatever these beer. Okay, this one taste this one. This has been aged perfectly. It's like, it's American beer. Okay, this has been aged too long, and it's like I took a swig of it. I was like, I said, I got about 2 million Germans to tell you you're lying on that, but okay.
More than two. More like 20. Yeah, dude. It's a
It
different
was fun.
animal. I remember when I landed in Frankfurt, I went to I was on the backside, Rhein Air Base, Rhein Air
Yeah,
Base,
yeah, Rhine Mine.
and
Yeah,
they had a place there called the Rocket Lounge, which was like
yeah. I remember
the
the
post
Rocket
bar.
Lounge.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. And the first time I was like, I went there, after doing some processing and stuff, they were like, "Hey, would you like a beer?" And I go, "Yeah, give me a German beer because you can get Budweiser and stuff like that too." And I
Yeah,
remember, like, this is called a wheat beer, and then I remember I put my
yeah,
hand behind the glass, and you can't see it. And that's not
yeah.
even the dark one. You have a Dunkelweizen, a
No,
dark
yeah. Well, you didn't get a
version.
dunkel. You just got a Hefeweizen.
I just got a
Yeah.
regular Hefeweizen, yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
so
And
if
if
you
you
ever
look
get
at
a
the
chance to go to
bartender, they were
Germany,
doing this with the bottle as they were pouring it out, weren't they?
or say it again.
If you're looking at the bartender when they poured it for you, they were doing this with the bottle.
Yeah, no, they do this thing where you have to drink it in a glass. That's very
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
And the glass doesn't need to be ice cold like people in America
Nope,
put their mugs in the freezer.
nope,
None of that stuff. It has to be in a
nope.
glass. It's a specific shape. It looks like oh man, I don't know. It's kind of
It's a
tapered
Weissen
like
glass.
this.
Yeah, that's
Right,
Weissen
Weizen
glass.
glass. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very specific. You have to pour it at an angle because at the top it has so much foam.
Yep.
And at the very end, so you have a little piece of swig, you take it and you swish it around to get all the wheat out of it. And that last
Mm-hmm.
bit is like, you can see like the barley and all this.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
If you got a really
Fantastic.
cool bartender, they'll take it and they'll pour that thing up, and then that last bit, they'll sit there over the top of it with the bottle doing like this to get
Right,
that
where the
last
foam,
bit out of there.
well,
Yep.
the foam, you have to get the
Yep.
foam. People just don't
Yep.
understand. It's
That's where that's where a lot of the best flavors at. So,
yeah, yeah. Of course, you've been to the beer gardens.
oh, of course, yes, yes, yes.
You have to go
I,
to the beer gardens.
people tell me that say, "Hey, did you ever go to Oktoberfest which year?"
No.
Yeah, okay, yeah, uh-huh. And problem is, I didn't see any of Oktoberfest because you get off the train station, the very first fest tent's the one I ended up in, and never saw anything else.
That's right. And right next to it is a bratwurst stand, and you're good.
Exactly.
What,
It
what do
was
you
right
need?
there. Those
What do
two
you?
right there. I don't need to see the rest of Oktoberfest.
There's a
I'm good.
hotel down the street here. We'll go there. We're good to go. Yeah, man. Oh yeah,
I didn't even do
it's
that. I
a.
stayed there until I stayed in that tent. And I literally got on the train the next morning and come back.
You didn't even go to the hotel.
No.
It's a very and the people don't understand. I mean, there's things about Germany I don't like. I was there probably quite a bit longer than you were, but it's extremely safe country, isn't it?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
You can
I felt
just
I could leave my door open, and not worry about anything. I didn't have to
no,
worry about anything. You really
yeah,
did not. And I
you
lived on
don't.
a quote unquote, not really on the concern. Our housing area was on the economy, but it wasn't, on the base. There in Wiesbaden.
Yeah,
So, but we could leave our stuff open all the time, not to worry about anything. We had to
no.
worry more about Americans. We had to worry about the Germans.
It got worse later, like after 2015, because that's when there was a big. Well, it's the truth. I'm going to say
Yeah.
it. There was a big migrant immigration into
Yeah. Oh
Germany.
yeah.
Like they took in like over 1 million people,
Oh yeah.
and you know how people have their little, like people in Germany, they'll have their apartments or their houses,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in another area they'll have their garden. It's a separate, complete
Hmm.
area where they have a little house and they go
Yep.
over there and they plant all their food and they have their parties and stuff like that.
It's away from their stuff. Yeah. It's like
Right.
uh, how can I even put it? Think of a pool party away from your main house. Around your pool house. That kind of deal. I know it.
Right.
Yeah.
You like open a gate and you walk through this, there's an area that you could drive a truck down, like a car,
Yep.
whatever. And everywhere as far as you can see, left and right for who knows, sometimes they go half a kilometer, sometimes they're really big. And
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
nothing but these little houses and they'll grow their own wine, they'll grow their own vines, they
Yep.
have their own squash and tomatoes and all that.
Yeah.
But like
Yep.
during this immigration thing, people were going in there and robbing these houses and burning them down. And,
Well, they're
and
lucky.
I,
They're lucky they
I
didn't
knew
get
for a
shot.
fact well, they're not where we're from because we would have. But
Well, I knew a bunch of Germans on the economy kept their own guns too. So
yeah, it is. There's black
you
markets
didn't
are
tell
everywhere.
anybody about it, but you did. You
No, no, no,
taking
no,
it.
no,
You
no.
go
I had a
steal from one of
bow.
them. You're taking it in your own thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a bow. That's the only thing I could get a hold of. So I grabbed myself a bow and did some shooting in the
Yeah.
backyard, and
Yep.
that
Yep.
was fun. But oh yeah, Germany reminiscence. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
We could do a whole show
So
nothing on Germany. So,
yeah, it's crazy place.
but anyway, so after Germany, I ended up coming back to. They tried to make me a recruiter. Yeah, that worked out good. Um, they
oh.
actually PCS'd me to the station in Clovis, New Mexico, sent me to the school. Said, "Oh, wait a second, you got too many kids to be a recruiter." I said, "Y'all didn't know this from the packet you made me fill before I left." Okay, so come back. And they say, okay, but I ended up sitting there for like 9 months in this station, just once again doing the chemical thing, being the station bitch for the most part, running all the police checks and stuff like that. I did all that stuff,
Yes.
and I was like, yeah, it's all good. And then they PCSed me to El Paso because they thought that I'd be in Texas, in my home state. I'll be in El Paso. I was further away from my home than I was in Clovis, New Mexico. So
And you're from which area are you from?
I'm from the DFW area, Dallas Fort Worth.
Dallas Fort Worth. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was further. It was further for me to drive to El Paso than it was to Clovis, New Mexico.
Right, because El Paso's is way out on the
Oh yeah,
all the
you're
way to
talking
on the
600
west
miles.
handle. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
way out there.
it's
Yeah,
it's
I
the
never even been to
farthest west
Texas, but
tip.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I want to get to
yeah,
the DC area because I am from Baltimore.
that was after that. Yeah.
So that's where I'm from. I'm from Baltimore, and
Oh,
you were
okay,
talking
cool.
about. So I used to
I'm
go. I used to do bass fishing on the Piscataway. You know Piscataway,
okay. I know exactly where you're at.
where the
Yeah.
where the boat ramp is right there.
Yep.
I used
Where
to
the
go
boat ramp
because
is. Yep.
right. So they always have a bass tournament competition down there every year,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
big pros they go out on the Potomac River there. But in the actual the little
I
bay
got a
there,
story
you're
for
not
you on
allowed to
that one here in a
fish.
minute, then too.
Yeah, so we used me and my dad go out with a trolling motor, and we would just bounce
Yeah.
some worms around there and just hit largemouth bass the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All day
that's
long. Yeah. Yep. Well, there at Belvoir, I used to fish, and my wife would get mad at me because I planned my day around low tide. I literally planned my day around low tide. If I knew low tide, I'd check, see, okay, when's tide going out? Okay, I got to be down there at 1 o'clock on Saturday because at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the tide's going to be out, and all these little channels that are in this on the backside of Belvoir past fan camp where the little uh, I call them the flats is what I called it. It's a slough area. It's part of the Potomac's out there, and as it comes through, starts going out, and these little channels that are cut into the stuff is all that's really running in and out. So I'd go back there and I'd start at one point I'd go out at night and catfish, but I got fed up with that because I realized there's a lot more bass in here than I thought there was.
well in the
So
channels. So they're like concentrated in these channels. You're saying?
yeah,
Oh,
they've
okay,
only got, instead of having this monster lake cove that that you could fish, they're down into this. You know,
okay,
they're down in either these puddles you could barely reach, and or they're in the little actual stream. It become a stream as you're watching the tide go out. You can see the water going.
right,
So
right.
you get out
Yeah,
there,
that's
drop a worm or run a spinner bait or something like that, and they're all over it all day
yeah,
long. It just start coming back in. You better pick up and go because they're done.
yeah. They're going to move out to the flats and try to get to the minnows and all that again. Yeah, man. The
Exactly,
crash shrimp and all the above.
exactly.
So you're down there. You're stationed in the DC area, Alexandria area. I am
Belvoir,
very
Fort
acquainted.
Belvoir.
Belvoir. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
I'm acquainted with Fort Meade because that's where I went and signed
Yeah.
up and all that. So,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is where all
Right there
the
on Route 50. It's right there on Route 50. I know where it's at.
is it on 50? 32. It's on
Is it on 32?
32.
I
Yeah,
thought it
it's
was
on
on 50.
32, man. That's my
No,
area,
wait a
man.
second.
That's where I was born and
I
raised.
take 50 going all the way up to
Annapolis.
BWI. That's what it was. I'd go to
Right.
BWI on 50. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. Or you go toward Annapolis, or you go over to Bay Bridge.
Yep.
That's 50. Yeah, it takes you over
Yep.
to
Yep.
over the other side. Yeah. So you're down there. You're on Fort Belvoir, and you were just like, okay, I'm going to be a paranormal researcher. Like, how did that come to pass?
I'd started watching Ghost Hunters when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this kind of cool, and I'd always been, every time a Bigfoot or documentary would come on, I'm all over it. I've always been a Bigfoot nut. This comes from the years growing up watching In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, that was like my favorite thing in the world, and, I started looking around and, I don't know how we ended up, somebody put something out on, was it on, it might have been on Facebook. I can't remember. I don't think it was on Facebook. I think I found it on like Craigslist or something like that. I
Right.
was suddenly,
Well,
and
when
it
was
just,
this? What
this was
time
in
period?
2005 time frame,
Probably
2005,
no. Facebook was like 8, so probably definitely was the other one, Blue
Yeah, and
Book or
I just
whatever.
can't remember which way it was, but it was an ad, and oh no, I know what it was. I was following the Ghost Hunters Taps group, and they had a actual the web page with an actual forum is what they did.
Okay.
And that forum is where I ran into somebody who had advertised on it and said, "Hey, we're looking at starting up a group in the DC area." Well, I texted them and it's like, "Okay, cool." Next thing I know, we're doing cloak and dagger stuff for me to meet them at one of the restaurants there in Alexandria. And I'm like, Okay, why are we doing cloak and
What is
dagger?
cloak? Okay, what is cloak and dagger
He
stuff?
trying to play spy type games, you know. It's a hey, if you walk in, I'm the guy with the blue folder, you know, or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But
The French
you know, don't
Connection
get me
all
wrong.
over
I
again.
mean, he's being very careful because he had his identity stolen already. So it was one of those things. He's very careful at what he was doing. So, but no
Okay.
big deal. No big deal to me as long as we get and we hit it off right away, you know. And that then we did the first uh investigation of that one house together. Then we ended up doing two or three, maybe four or five before I left there finally. And there's I can count on my hands like that one, and I don't even maybe one more that we got real evidence out of. But the majority of them, it's people don't understand that side of they don't see the groundwork side of the investigation. They see what they
Right.
see on TV. You're
Right,
talking
because it's
about
all been cut down.
exactly. They're not showing you the 95 hours of footage you got to go through to get to that 30 seconds that you found.
Well, you got to get the contacts. You got to vet the contacts. You got to make sure you're safe there. You have to then lug all the equipment there.
Yeah,
Check it out where the best views are. Get all the
yeah,
information of where the people have seen things. Then do the investigation. Hopefully, you get something, and then do all the cutting, and then promote. It's like
yeah,
it's like 1% C, 99% do.
yeah, exactly. So, but we did one case in point, like you're saying, with that one, case in point, we've got one that we did that the people said they kept having these problems that this house is being built, and it's built on a site of an old Civil War hospital. In fact, the wood from the hospital barn is still being is there on site, and they're using parts of it in the actual building of the house. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's probably not good in the first place, but okay, no biggie. We'll go down. We go down and check it out. And they start talking about, well, it's within 100 yards of an actual railroad track. I'm talking about freight car railroad. I'm not talking about passenger trains. I'm talking about freight cars.
Uh-huh.
They're within 100 yards or so of this, and we get there. I start looking at the wood that they've they took care to disassemble this thing without destroying the actual wood. So I give them props for that. But as we're going through and looking, as I walk past this one truck, I look over and there is a Ford pickup with the truck bed full of empty beer cans. We're not talking about a little bit. We're talking full of nothing but Bud Light cans. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, I think I know where this is going. And sure enough, we get in there, we get nothing. And the people we were talking to were just like, this guy, I don't know what he's on right now, but he might even be drunk while he's talking to us. We don't know, I mean, but
Wow.
we do our interviews and we do our little mini investigation at night. We didn't last till 1 a.m. We're like, I mean, the train coming by, you're just like, most of everything can be explained by the train coming by. Almost everything they experience can be explained just with that.
Okay. Have you ever had it where, say, for example, someone contacts you and they kind of underplay the situation that's happening, and then you get there and your mind is blown?
Not really. I mean, but when they've contacted us, usually, I mean, we've done a couple of them that we didn't know for sure if we'd like it, if it needed to be done in the first place. But the minute somebody tells us, we did one, like I said, the lady contacted our my partner, and they feared for the kids in the house.
Okay.
And that immediately we're going, doesn't matter. We'll do our quick interviews when we get there. We'll set up and we'll do an investigation, see what we can find. We didn't catch anything that night, and we didn't have any bad vibes about the place at all. We think that the kid just may have been scared. I mean, just because it's a new house that they moved into, maybe the kid's scared or something. But we set it up, and I think they went back a few months later and did it again. And I don't know of anything we ever caught there. So that one was one we jumped into that we probably should not have. I shouldn't say we should not have because as kids, we're
Right.
giving them peace of mind too. So
Yeah, but it always like when anytime someone says like something is going to involve a child in which a child could be either
yeah,
hurt, injured, injure themselves, or afraid, and you're
exactly,
able to maybe provide some type of service for somebody, why not? It's a
exactly.
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'll take time out to do that all day long.
yeah, yeah. So I would be remiss. So you're out there with Tex. Have you, when he's out there looking for his, I think you called them critters.
Yeah, yep. He likes
Definitely
to
a
call them
Texas
critters.
thing.
He likes to call them
Critters.
critters. Yep.
Have you had any experiences or anything where it's unexplained where you were like, okay, there's something going on because you're with him, or you've seen these on your own?
Well, when we were doing the documentary a couple of years ago, I was out there with the documentary team,
Which
and
documentary?
Tech,
Can we promote it?
the one Tex did for Brown Springs, we did it with Tippa TV back
Okay.
in 2022, I think.
Okay.
But we're going through it, and I mean, Josh and Marianne were there with us, and they're she, me and Josh are kind of just sitting there BSing, at the camp,
Josh, you
and the other
mean I'm gonna?
Josh
I'm
is
sorry,
no
Josh
Josh,
Turner.
no, Josh from the Tippa TV. Josh Elmer is the
Okay,
gentleman.
I'm sorry.
He was the one doing the actually doing the filming. And me and him are sitting there talking, and we're kind of BSing around while some of them are off sleeping, and some have gone off to whatever hotel they were going to get a shower or whatever. And me and him are sitting there kind of talking, and out of the blue, we hear some wood knocks, and it sounded like a good ways down the path from where we were at. And we were like, "Well, that's kind of out of the blue. There ain't nobody out here but us." So we're like, "Okay." Well, we start walking down the trail, and we're trying to figure out, and we get about probably half mile down, and it's like, okay, we're not hearing anything else. I think we could probably just chalk it up. I don't have any feeling, don't see anything, don't no other notices. We get back up there, and Marianne is like, "Y'all need to learn to listen." We're like, "What?" What? She tried to get our attention when we started to walk away because after we walked away, she heard whew, whew, off to the another side. So we're like sitting there thinking, wait a second, what if something tried to get our attention there to get us away from camp to try and mess with her or
Oh
trying to check
wow,
it out after we got out of the way.
I
So
wouldn't put that past them. I wouldn't put that
no,
past them.
not at all, not at all. I mean, if they're as smart as people say they are, then yeah, I can see that all day long. But there's a couple other times, we're out there and we hear something traipsing through the woods, and stuff, and we're running along, and one guy just run past me. I ain't gonna say his name because I get mad whenever I say his name. But anyway, he goes running past, and we're out in the woods and we're walking along, and he's like, "I hear it. It's right over there. It's right over there." I said, "No, dude, look." He was so fixated up here, he didn't look at the armadillo was down in the foliage below it. So he's hearing the armadillo, not realizing what he's seeing.
All right.
So
So, Randy, you say you approach these things from a scientific point of view. You try to debunk
yeah,
the things the best you can,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
fantastic. We need that too. Everyone needs
Well,
that.
yeah, you've got to, you've got to. If you could debunk it, you can't say it's real
Right. Right. Or you can say it's real, but it's not without
without some.
explanation,
Yeah,
rational
exactly.
explanation, whatever you
Yeah,
call it.
yeah. I'm
Uh,
not saying I shouldn't say. Yeah, that'd be like
yeah,
me saying say that about
well, we'll
some
get there.
other people's
We'll get there.
conspiracy.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly politically correct either. If you ever
Yeah,
watch
I
any of
know.
my stand up, you'll find out in a hurry. Uh,
I done getting involved.
yeah. So being that is your base state of mind, who you are as a person, you like to look at
Mhm.
things from that angle. What can you
Yeah.
say about the Bigfoot phenomenon?
Oh, me. I'm kind of like I'm kind of like Mulder from the X Files. I want to believe. Have I
Okay.
had? Have I heard stuff in the woods? Growing up in the woods, doing stuff. Yeah, I've heard stuff all my life. And makes me think, what was that? Don't think nothing about it no more. Because whatever's out there, if it's going to get me, it's going to get me whether I like it or not.
Hmm.
Uh, but that's where I draw the line. I'm still a firm. If they're there, they're a flesh and blood creature. You know,
Okay.
that's where I stand. Now, a lot of
Okay.
people, what do you do? You don't see it because you don't believe in the woo. What? No, no, that don't work like that, guys.
Yeah, I always try to. There's been so many things that has happened over the last couple of years that now that the U.S. government's like, yeah, UFOs are real. So
Yeah,
I intentionally and unintentionally stand in the middle between it all. I
exactly.
I'm not going to throw anything past it. They call it the woo, but I would just say it's the paranormal aspect of the
Yeah, and
Bigfoot phenomenon, which could be possible, but there hasn't been any sound scientific evidence putting them together. But to put it past it, I would definitely not do that for sure.
no, no, no. I would never completely discount anything, never. But now think about it this
Okay.
way: you hear people talk about the cloaking effect that they do, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah, I've heard
cloaking,
this.
and I was like, a guy put I think it was even on the Blondes Facebook page that they put this out there, and even on Texas Front Porch page. They put out this video of this looks like a or man figure cloaked going around in this dirt road area. Okay, and it's just kind of moving in there, and you can see the way it reflects refracts the light. I shouldn't say reflects, but refracts it around. I said, it looks like a man. They're like, oh yeah, I've been talking to my SAS family for blah 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 blah. I'm like,
That's family.
yeah, okay, wait a second. First of all, let me explain something to you guys about this kind of technology that you're looking at. Okay, there is nothing outside of a prism in the natural known world that refracts light. It just doesn't happen.
Okay.
Stealth technology bends light, refracts light, and reflects light, which causes that same kind of effect as what you're seeing in that video. And I told the people that were griping on it, I said, listen, think about it. You never heard of stealth until the aircraft came out.
Right.
Okay. You never heard of any of this stuff because stealth is technology based. This is all based on technology.
Oh.
You
Well,
cannot sit there and tell me that a natural born creature has that kind of technology. It just doesn't exist.
hmm.
However, if it's metaphysical slash paranormal, I would say yes, but I would not attribute that to a Bigfoot. I would attribute that to some other entity.
Okay. Okay. But so basically using the terminology incorrectly. That's what you're trying to say. You would
Well,
say,
between that and just they want to throw crap against the wall, see what sticks. That's what it is.
okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You
Yeah.
said so you're still doing this? You enjoy this? This is your thing? I mean, you're retired now.
Well,
You're working in
I
the
have a
oil
blast.
fields.
I
Oh, you
have
just
fun. I don't work in an oil field. I work at a place that makes parts for the oil field. So
okay. Fair enough.
I I don't I do this for the fun of it. This is putting me in a haunted house or a haunted bar or a haunted something on a Friday night or Saturday night just to run an investigation for however long I want to be there. I'm in heaven. I
Have you ever
mean,
been frightened?
oh yeah, many times. We won't even get
Oh,
into the wartime frightened. That's totally different animal. As far
wartime.
as on an investigation, oh yeah, I've been in every contingency deployment since 1989.
Oh shit.
I went to
So you've
Desert
been
Shield, Desert Storm. I went to uh, what was that? I shouldn't call it join Endeavor, join Guard. Yeah, that thing too. But I didn't really consider that quote unquote combat operations. It was just contingency operations in Bosnia and
yes.
Yugoslavia and such. Um, did that one, Somalia. That was the scariest one by a long shot. Uh, then I didn't get to Albania when, or should say Kosovo when it kicked up. Actually, I did get to
I
Kosovo for a few.
I went to Kosovo.
Wasn't
Yeah.
there long. I wasn't there
Yeah.
long though. I was just there long enough for
Yeah.
them to get it stood up in that sheep field that they use for an air base. So,
Where,
um,
where's that at? Was that Bond Steel?
what's that?
Bond Steel.
No,
Camp
no, it
Bond
wasn't
Steel.
Bondsteel. It wasn't Bondsteel.
Oh, that's another one.
It was the first air helicopter one. You asked me to remember all the way back to '98 now.
Okay, so that was even before me. I got there in March of 2000. So okay.
Yeah, it was well, it might have been no, it was '99. It was '99. So because I left Germany in 2000, so it was '99 for sure. Uh, but it wasn't Bondsteel. It was God, I'm trying to remember the name of it off the
Yeah,
top
yeah.
of my
But
head.
so
It
you're
was in
out.
the
So you
middle
go
of a
to
sheep field. It was in the middle of a sheep field.
yeah,
I mean, we threw pallets down to make boardwalk, you know. So,
yeah, because it's
um,
so muddy. Yes, certain times of year there it gets really muddy.
but
Yeah. So you went then. So you didn't. So you went to Kosovo. Then you probably had the I don't know the other ones. There was also
Iraqi freedom.
second time I went to Iraq. Then Afghanistan.
Yep,
You've done
yep.
those
I
two.
went
You've done
to
all that.
Iraq. I did the initial invasion in '03. Went back again in 2009, 2010. Then I did not go to Afghanistan. That's one thing I never hit was Afghanistan. I never
Okay.
got to see it. Thank God. I'll just say that. All you guys that are Afghan vets, more power to you. I'm sorry. I'm glad I didn't go. That's
Yeah,
all I can tell you.
I have a buddy who went to Afghanistan. He's having issues, but he's doing all right. He's
Yeah.
working his way through it.
That's that's a full terrorist haven right there. So
Yeah, a lot of a lot of mortar rounds and weird
mm,
stuff they had to go through when he was there. Yeah,
yeah.
so man, what was I was going to ask you? Oh man, well, of course, you said the Somalia was the scariest. What do you mean?
Oh
Why
yeah. Because
by what
you didn't know
standards?
what the hell was going to happen from 1 minute to the next.
Okay,
The Mogadishu is no, scared to death,
wow,
scared to death. And see, I went from Johnson Island to that. That was one of those
okay,
special assignment things. So, but that was not a that was not fun. That was not fun at all. That was scary.
and that's
That
way
was
scarier than a haunted house. You're saying?
oh Those
I know,
those can't
I know,
shoot at me.
I know that I am. I know that I'm just. I know that you and I are both military veterans, but at the same time, you sometimes have to put that out there because
Yeah.
people,
Well,
because there's people nowadays that are
anybody.
spoiled. They're
Oh
spoiled.
yeah.
They're on the streets
Oh
of
yeah.
Dallas and like, oh, I didn't get my latte, therefore I'm very angry today. Like, you need to like,
Yeah, and I
you need
throw a
some.
package of Taster's Choice at him and say, "You suck it up, bitch. Let's go."
throw one of
I'm
those.
sorry.
Throw an MRE at her.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
Any
like
cup of coffee.
I cannot watch to this day. I still can't watch Black Hawk Down because I remember
Never
being
watched
on
it.
that. I remember being on that soccer field, that quote unquote Olympic stadium they called it or whatever. I remember being on that, and we could hear the helicopters telling Durant, "Hey, we're coming to get you." They're literally
Holy
circling
shit,
and
dude!
telling them, "Hey, we're coming to get you. We'll get you." And finally we did. But anyway, um,
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
yeah.
Do you have any? Do
So
you have any like PTSD because of all this stuff? I
no,
mean,
no,
how was your
nope.
transition back to civilian life was fine.
See,
Oh
and
damn,
that's the thing.
more life, more
I
power
may
to
have
you,
it.
man.
I may have it way deep somewhere or whatever. But that's one thing I learned early in my military career. I compartmentalize stuff to the point that none of my stuff came home with me. None of it.
Wow, dude.
Everything
Wow,
stayed at work.
wow.
So
So that, I mean, I
it.
mentioned that was very good for your family.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
very
yeah.
you're
Plus, I was
very
more afraid of
fortunate.
my wife than I was of any of them people.
Well, Randy, before I get you out of here, man, thank you so much. This was a very
Hey,
fun interview. I have no idea what I'm going to call it, but I don't know.
hey.
But are you promoting anything? I mean, I see you have Truth or Tinfoil at the bottom.
Yep.
What is that?
Truth or Temple is our show. Me and Brandy do this show on Sunday evenings. That's what I talked about. We take evidence from other places, from places on the internet and stuff, and we dissect it
Oh.
and we go through it and we say, okay, and we've even got, like I said, we don't call it Truth or Tinfoil for nothing. I've got my hat ready to go at all times. So
Well,
this is
you're very good at this, dude. You know how to roll, man. You know how to roll. You know how to bounce it. You know how to stop. You have the natural pauses. So I mean, continue to do what you're doing. At least
yeah.
on this
You got to
side of
know
it,
what you're doing. All right, well,
right?
you got to make it easy on you. I'm trying to make it easy on you. You're the interviewer, so
Well, you're yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you very much. You were a platoon sergeant, right? I'd imagine many.
yeah. I was a platoon
Sometimes
sergeant
you had to stand.
when
You
I
had to stand up in
retired.
front. You had to stand up in front of the soldiers and give
Oh
the
yeah.
morning briefings and all that. So you
Oh
were
yeah,
used
I
to
had to
public
do the morning
speaking.
break to top. Yeah,
Oh yeah, and then go in and talk to the first sergeant and the captain. Yeah,
yeah, that was before
I do.
formation. Wait,
Yes, I do not envy that at all. I was just happy to be there on time, which
yeah,
I was 99.9% of the time because I got
I
smoked
got
all day
lucky. I
long.
had some real good troops there. The only platoon I really had. I mean, because like I said, I never was in a chemical unit. I was always in infantry units or on areas up at DC or NBC, NCO at battalion or company levels. Or
Oh, okay.
so either
Oh,
that.
okay.
But I finally got a chemical unit. After I came back from Iraq the last time, and I did a year and a half there, and it took that long on Fort Hood to make me want to retire.
So you got kind of lucky
Sorry,
at lucky
Fort
and no.
Cavazos now.
What's it? Fort Hood is now called what?
It's called Fort Cavazos now. They
Why?
renamed all every essentially every post that was named after a Confederate general or Confederate hero of some sort was renamed. So Fort Hood is now Fort Cavazos.
So,
Fort Bragg is not Fort Bragg anymore either.
oh my God! So if you guys didn't see that, did you just see my eyes roll back on my head so far that they almost snapped? It's just the name.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. But
sorry. I'm
I
sorry. I
still call
maybe
it Fort Hood to this day. I still call
uh,
it Fort Bragg to this day. So
yeah, that's what I'm going to
eh,
call it too. They
it's
did
not
the
to be
same thing with
hateful
the
of
airports.
anybody. It's not to
No,
be hateful at anybody or insensitive, but it's
we're
just
old,
plain simple
Randy.
fact.
We're
We're
old.
old.
We're
Yeah,
old, and
and
that's what
I'm
we.
gonna roll with what's there. That's why I don't
Right.
have to
Well,
go on them.
you.
They can do what they want now.
Yeah, that's okay. You know that you guys go do your thing, but let me be me. This is when I grew
Yep.
up, and when I served in the military. That's what they were called. We know that
I'm
Fort
wrapping up in
Bragg.
my DD 214 and being quiet.
Exactly. I got mine somewhere over here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
At
it.
Fort Bragg is where you want to when you wanted to jump out of an airplane. You know what I mean? Your
Exactly.
four port of contact with 5 points.
18th Airborne Corps. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what it's called. So you can change all you want, but that's what I'm going to call it. So,
Yeah, it's
dude.
brag to me. It will always be
Yeah.
brag.
So do me a big favor. Go over there to Truth or Tenfoil and give Brandy and Randy. That's very it's easy to remember. A
Yeah.
little bit of
Until we
love
start talking to each
and
other.
Yeah, I'm going to go over there and subscribe to the channel right now because I know it's a newer one. I do
Yeah,
know
we
it's a
got
newer
about
one. So,
16 or so episodes up right now.
oh,
So
that's great, dude. That's great. How many do you do a week?
we only do the one. We only do Sunday because, like I said, we're part of Texas Front Porch, kind of network. I run all the podcasts out of it too because I take all the YouTube shows and I put them out on podcast networks as well. But yeah, we're part of that network, so we try to not step on any of the other brothers' toes. So
Oh, I got you. So that's why you throw it on. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
Well,
schedule it out as best we can.
all right then. Thank you so much for coming on. And wait a second, I'm going to check the recordings. And remember, everybody, we are the eye, and we are aware. Thank you.
That's it.
So that was Randy Gilbert, retired Sergeant First Class Randy Gilbert. He is. I'm sure you're going to say, I'll say it to him as well. Thank you for your service. But we did it well. We did it together. When he was stationed in Germany, I was also stationed in Germany. So, and we were only 45 minutes to an hour and a half apart, depending on the traffic. So we are basically stationed together. Yeah, that was interesting. I think a lot of things need to be looked at in many different ways. You may see something, you're looking at it one way, and the sun is hitting it at a certain angle, and then someone sees it from another way. So why can't we go from both angles to get to some type of understanding of what this phenomenon actually is? And that's what it's all about. And thank you guys all very much. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be dropping one episode a month over into the members section of YouTube until I figure out a better place to put it. And I hope you guys enjoy that. And thanks for watching. Let me get to my outro. There it is.
You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Remember, if you have any strange occurrences or stories or anything you'd like to share, please drop me an email at theeyejupiterpodcast@gmail.com and you'll be on the show. And remember, we are the eye and we are aware. Thank you.